Hello, everybody. We are Rumble Pop Live. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to do some stuff in the background. Kevin, take it away.
Yes, sir. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you in the 24 time zones on planet Earth. Welcome to the most plot thickening, most exciting, and sometimes most disturbing live stream on YouTube. We are Rumble Pop. And now I'm going to introduce to you my co-host and co-conspirators. First, the man in the blue headset, the madman from the great state of Ohio. He is the #2 Pittsburgh Steeler fan. He is a man who has waited for 77 years for the Cleveland Indians to finally win another World Series. He is a man that if you disrespect DC Comics, God help you because he will pop you in the mouth. But he is also a man that is one of the sexiest men in North Hollywood, since he was voted on that last year. He is a man that women want to tear the raiments off of his body. He is the desirable one. He is the original Dono. Next, we go to a man originally from the great state of Michigan, but now runs things. He runs the Lone Star State of Texas. He is one of the most learned men in America today. He is a man who's a professor, an educated man who teaches many arts of theatrical things. He makes sure that students will get on the independent circuit, Hollywood or Broadway. He is also a man who is a tea time extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, he is also the bearded one, a desirable man as well, Professor Chris D. Turner.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And last but not least, a fine lady we haven't seen in a couple of months on Rumble Pop. She is from that beautiful state of Maine. She is someone who is a absolute connoisseur of Oscar Isaac movies. She is someone who is also an empress of Disney knowledge. She knows her stuff. She knows Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, and all things Disney inside and out. Please give it up again for the lovely, the tantalizing, the tranquil, the tender Miss Tracy Lou. And of course, I'm your humble servant, your humble podcaster, the Grand Master of the Jedi and Vulcan Arts, your Supreme Chancellor, Brother Kevin. And brothers and sisters, it's going to be a fun show tonight. Let me tell you something. We're going to delve deep into a very fun topic. Movies with great plot twists. We're going to go over 3 or 4 each. You're going to tell us in the comment section what is one of your favorite movies out there that have stunning, shocking plot twists. But before that, I believe, what are we going to do first? Are we going to let brother Professor Turner testify and spill the tea, or is it going to be you pulling something out of your box, Mr. Donald?
Whatever works. What do you? Let's talk really quickly. So here's something I have to say. Better prices than booking sites, better benefits than credit cards, a full service travel agency. That means hand jobs, blowies, whatever you want. 100% free to use. Contact Chris via the QR code on the screen to become a client.
Sir.
So, Chris,
Sir.
why don't you spill a little tea or have a little tea time here while I pull this up for you? He has nothing to say. He's so confused right now.
Sir, this is
Today we are talking about movies that have twists, turns, and shocks.
Twist of lemon.
And I guess cars, because cars have twists and shocks.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some locations from some movies that have some really shocking twists and turns in them. The one I want to talk about today, a filming location, be probably what I think is probably one of the worst movies with a twist ending, and that would be The Village. For those of you who don't know, The Village was supposed to be a movie that takes place in the 1700s. Monsters attacking these people from that time period, but turns out that they're modern day and that people are dressing up like monsters. Kind of dumb. Very dumb in my opinion. That's why I call it the worst movie. Movie with the worst.
He made more movies though, right? Like he made more movies. I think they got dumber.
First one.
He did.
Yeah, the one they did get like old was probably the dumbest. I mean, he has made some really bad ones. Like I think after Sixth Sense and Signs, it all went downhill from there. But anyway, so the movie was shot in Pennsylvania, in a place called Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. An entire village set was constructed in a field with a temporary soundstage. And then they also had additional scenes were filmed in Centerville, Delaware, which lent itself to the authenticity and charming aesthetic to the story. It's interesting because basically what happened was he wanted to shoot somewhere else. He wanted to shoot in Pensonbury Township. That's where he did shoot. He wanted to shoot somewhere else, but he couldn't find a field big enough to fit what they wanted with the trees and all that stuff. It was all the same location. So he found this farm. It's a random farm. And he asked the farmer, "Hey, can we shoot there?" And basically they're like giant pumpkins and stuff like that. It's owned by a guy named H.G. Haskell. And he basically provides giant pumpkins for the Chad Ford Historical Society's annual Great Pumpkin Carve. And so basically they shot a bunch of scenes there, almost like I said. Then they also built like a sound stage there. And he tried going in Bucks County, basically, is where they were trying to just shoot. They ended up in Brandywine Valley. Anyway, so you can go. You can't visit the farm, but you can drive to Cosart Road in Chadds Ford, and you can see. You can look over the fence and see where they shot it, the field where they shot it. You might be able to recognize some of the areas. If you're interested, scan my QR code, and I can get you set up and tell you where to go.
Mr. Sean says, checking in, fellow film friends. Donald, the QR thingy needs to be a little more to the top left square. I think he's talking about over my face, probably, which is fine. But I think it works there where it's at for now. Nicole Irwin says, I finally didn't miss this one. I missed the last live. Time difference in Ohio makes it hard to catch you guys. I totally understand, Nicole. Thank you.
We appreciate you
for tuning in. 11 o'clock at night. It's kind of late for people on the East Coast. I totally get that. But, like, it's hard with work and stuff, like, to get home for some people here and be able to be ready by like 6 or 7, particularly with traffic, because even if you go like 9 miles, traffic can take you anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, just depending on where you're at in the city. So that makes that fun. So I try to balance that the best I can. We were doing 7:30 for a while, which made it 10:30 on the East Coast. But there was a lot of times there was technical difficulties and issues and stuff that popped up, and we weren't able to get to those things in time before the show, and the show was starting almost at 8 anyway. So we were like, we might as well just change it to 8. So we have, and we haven't looked back yet. So
it's working out pretty good.
Not too bad. Not terrible. Not terrible. Chris, anything else you want to say about the...
Well, as I was spilling my tea, I actually literally just spilt my tea. So there's that. So.
Well, see, that's appropriate.
Yep. Rather appropriate for sure. So there's that QR code, guys. One more second on that. So you can scan it with your phone. I don't know if it works. Let me try it.
Yeah, well, it works. It definitely works.
Let me try it. It does. Look at that. Takes you right to luxrallytravel.com. And there's a picture of Chris right on it.
Look at him. He's cheesing
much
it
better
up.
looking me.
He's cheesing it up, too. Look at that. He's cheesing it up.
Hamming it up. Ham and cheesing it up. Cheese and ham sandwiching it up. My mom and dad are on. Everybody say hi to my mom and dad.
Hi,
Mom and Dad.
McKinney. I hope you're having a good week.
Hi, Mom and Dad. Love you guys.
And Donald, are you ready to testify and pull out some really good, powerful stuff out of your sweet box?
Sure. All right. Okay, I think I... Wait. Nope, that ain't it. Wow, that does not work at all. Okay, so now Bonnie's here.
Hey, Bonnie.
There we go. Kevin is now where Tracy is. So let me fix that really quickly. Ay. Remember when I was talking about no issues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You jinxed yourself, man. You jinxed yourself.
What are you going to do? It's probably going to go back the other way once I fix this. Okay, there we go. Kevin, Tracy, Chris. Hey, perfect. It works. I don't know if you guys noticed. I got some things up on the wall, including my mom's artwork. Right there. Spider-Man. Got some Airboy action up there. One of my favorites, Dave Stevens. And I've got a print done by a friend of mine's friend that's a great artist. And it's a Fright Night. So those will be on the wall for a while, and I'll rotate things out as time progresses, so to speak.
As in the classic movie Fright Night from the 80s?
Yes. Yep. You got it. Sean McGean says, "You maniacs, you blew it up. Damn you, Colonel Taylor." And Mr. Sean says, "Sean M, damn you, beat me to it. I salute you." And Sean McGean says, "Great minds think alike. My Sean brother, would you like to come over for snacks and maybe a tickle?" And Mr. Sean hasn't responded yet, but we're waiting on that. He didn't ask for snacks or a tickle. I made that up, by the way. Okay. So, yeah, let's talk about some comics. This came out like 2 weeks ago. This is Sam and Twitch. It is issue number 1. It is by co-plotted by Todd McFarlane and John Joff, I guess, Goff, Joff, I don't know. Anyway, the art is by Simon Kudranski. Fantastic art, by the way. My biggest problem with this book, and let me show you my biggest problem, is the way they did the blurbs, the textual blurbs, sometimes gets a little confusing because they don't always do lines to the character. So they'll do it like it's very hard sometimes to see and very hard to know who's talking to who and why and what's going on. But besides that, it's your typical 80s cop film trope of, I'm getting suspended and my partner, what are we going to do? And then some shit hits the fan, and there's like this big spread of all the shit hitting the fan. It's puzzle pieces of a murder that's taken place. It's a little gruesome, but it's pretty good. I would give it probably a 6.5. I am curious to where it's going to go, and it is only $2.99. So that's the beautiful thing. There's only 2 companies that I'm aware of that do $2.99 books still. DC does all their kids' books at $2.99. And Image McFarlane's Image does all of their books at $2.99, unless they're like anniversary issues or something. So worth checking out. And there's what issue 2 is going to look like. A little slice of life. So I recommend it. Up next, interestingly enough, we got another murder mystery. This one's Jill and the Killers by Ani Press. This is issue number 1. What a fun read, guys. This is great. It's all about a girl that's coming back to school after almost a year of being gone due to her mother's disappearance. Her mother was a cop and just disappeared one night, and they haven't been able to find her. They assume that she's dead. The daughter even believes so, but there's a few people that don't think she is. Flash forward, she's trying to reconnect with her friends, including one girl that she's desperately in love with. And in order to be back in her good graces, she decides to pay for a murder box, which everybody apparently is into in this clique that she's trying to get back into. They like doing these murder mystery things. And so she orders the first murder box. It shows up. They go to a location and they find a fake foot. Guess what? It's not fake. And then the real murder box that they ordered shows up the next day. So what's going on? Does this have any ties to her mother's disappearance? Who's sending them these things? And why are there so many damn dead people? Also, A little known thing that every 5 years a kid disappears in this town, and that is almost to the day of when this story begins. So is another kid going to disappear? And if so, what's going to happen to him? And can these kids solve the murder in time? It's Jill and the Killers. It's excellent. I give it a 7.5 to an 8. Highly recommend if you get a chance through Ani to grab it. It's Ani Press, Jill and the Killers #1. Check it out, guys. I think issue number 3 has already come out. I'm a little far behind on that one, so I'm sorry. Next up is Arthur Sex. How did that get in there? That's not one word. But now that I have it up here, look at that, huh? An erotic adventure of King Arthur. How about that, huh? Woo.
Wow.
Let's put that back there. You know. Ghostbusters.
Hey, Donald, send it to me. Texas needs that.
Yeah, Texas needs. Yeah, you're right. Ghostbusters back in town. Guess what happens? This is what happens after the last Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they are headed to the big city of New York. Ernie Hudson has procured them the Ghostbusters station. He has procured them their outfits, their proton packs, the car, everything. The Ecto's all souped up and ready, and they're ready to rock and roll. Only trouble is life gets in the way. Things go sideways, and that little creature, what did they call it? The jumper thing from the new film, the little electrical creeper ghost thing, starts to cause a lot of trouble for them. So Ghostbusters Back in Town #1. I'm not sure how many issues, probably 4. Pretty fun. I'd give it probably about a 6.5 to a 7. I think you should check it out. It is only a $4 investment. And enjoy. That's also another kind of a murder mystery, technically, if you think about it, with Ghostbusters.
So it's a prequel to Frozen Empire, basically.
Yes. And then we have the Holy Roller #2, continuing on with the Holy Roller storyline. Our main character is on the lam. He has been busted. They caught him on video, busting heads, and the police are after him now. And that's basically it. There isn't much more development to this issue. I wish there was, but it's still very good, and it continues the story some. I do wish that they had a little more, so I'm going to give it about a 6.5. So I think I gave it a 7 originally, so I'm going to drop it by 0.5, simply because the story's not in this issue, and I think they're leading up to issue 3, where he's probably going to don some sort of outfit. So that's Holy Roller #2. Then we go to Bloodrick #2. Basically, the Chronicles of Bloodrick. This was a 3-part series. It's already over, guys. Sorry. Same thing with the Holy Roller. It's not over, but I think they're on issue 4 already. I'm a little behind on some of my reading, so I do apologize. Bloodrick #2. It's basically Conan the Barbarian, only this guy's stuck in the snow and he's starving. It's all about him and his food addiction, and that he needs it to survive, of course. And while he's out hunting, he sees a dragon. I don't know if you can see the dragon up here in the photo, but he does see a dragon, and he follows that dragon to a town, an abandoned town. Did the dragon destroy everybody, or did they destroy themselves, or was there something more sinister? There is one house in the town with smoke billowing out of the smokestack, and Bloodrick is making his way there, and we are going to find out in issue 3 what the hell's going on. Bloodrick #2. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's an easy read. It's $3.99, and it is at about a 7.5 for me, just because it's fun barbarian goodness. We've got some people here that said some things, so let me really quickly. Osiris says, hello. Oh, how funny. Oh, yeah.
Big Sal.
Amish Shaw says, life will always find a way. Malcolm. Good to see you, Amish. Sammy says, what's up, mother truckers? Hello, Donald. Hey, Sammy. Nice to see you.
She said,
Hi, Sammy.
hello, Donald.
Oh, okay. And Mr. Sean says, welcome one and all. Please help our rumblers by hitting the like button. Thank you, Mr. Sean. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sean.
The more likes we get, the better our algorithm is, and the more likely we'll pop up in there. So I've officially pulled out on all you'll enjoy. Okay, we're all in the same spot that we were a minute ago. It's great.
Did anybody... Sorry to interrupt you real quick. Did anybody watch the eclipse today and think there was going to be some kind of twist ending?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, I took a nap.
I kind of watched, but it was hard to watch it here just because it really didn't do anything.
No.
Basically, ours was 58%. So I was able to see 58% covering.
I mean, we would have seen it if there was no clouds, but we didn't get it at all. So, but Dallas got it 100%.
It's kind of a bummer.
I thought the sun was going to explode or something. I thought it was going to be some kind of. I thought we were dead. I thought I seriously that twist ending. We were dead. The moon was going to explode or something. I don't know.
You really
Aliens.
thought that?
Well,
Didn't
Chris, what would've been
Y2K
your
teach
last
you anything?
line?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What would have been your last line if you knew you were about to go out like that? If the sun was about to take us out?
Well, I was in
would've been
school, so my last line would have been "Sit down. I'm asking you for the 20th time."
Oh, that's a terrible line.
And yours, Donald, what would be your final line?
Who gives a shit? So glad I didn't miss the pulling out, says Sammy. Well, that's interesting statement, but thank you. Philippe says The Others has a great plot twist. Hector Hernandez says eyesight loss is the best plot twist. Ooh, that is a good one. Amish says we only had 50% off, so I didn't like the discounts. Sean McGean says I thought about Eclipso, the DC Comics villain. Oh, that's a good villain. One of my favorites, actually. I now have 2 first appearances. It's a House of Secrets issue. I can't remember the exact number on it, which issue it is, but I was very excited to upgrade. So I have to get rid of the lower grade one, which is usually what collectors do if they upgrade. Non-hoarding good collectors that don't want to have everything ever in the history of everything, they'll get rid of their lower grades. That's usually how it works anyway. Sammy says, my best friend lives near Fort Worth, so it was cool for her. Sam, are you back in town? I know that you were in Texas.
Oh, she was in Tejas?
And Amish said I should not have looked. I'm going to have a delicious beverage here. No, it's not Splattered Frog. If you go to splatteredfrog.com, type in the coupon code SHORTBOX, get 20% off your order, by the way. They got hats, koozies, shirts, things like that, so check them out, please. The drink today is the carbonated Ramon drink, or Ramon, or whatever the hell it is. And I got the little thing that you bust out of the top. And look, it's got the little marble that you have to push down, and it activates the... It doesn't really, but it activates the carbonation, I guess. Maybe it does. I don't know. No, there's carbonated in there, but it makes it super more carbonated. It's just cool, I guess. So let's do this. Let's see if I can do it one-handed here. Ready? Can you see it? I mean, it's going to be two-handed. I lied. Jesus Christ. Maybe I'm not good at it. Hang on.
Don't hurt yourself. Oh,
Ooh, there we go.
Go.
Oh, damn. Okay, I see you. Yeah, that was crazy, huh? All right. Well, I've got a little taste.
Don't make a mess
so
of here. Don't make a
now
mess.
You can see the marble, blah, blah, rolling in there. In the top, it does not go to the bottom, and then we taste. Kind of tastes like watermelon cotton candy. And I love watermelon cotton candy. I ever tell you the story? I went to California Adventures, and they had watermelon cotton candy, and it was my birthday. And so people kept buying me it, and I think I had 4 bags of watermelon cotton candy before I got sick. This was I want to say 8 years ago. I was in my 30s. I wasn't a child.
Candy to get sick on. I feel like after 2 bags, you would have been sick.
Oh, you vastly underestimate my ability to eat cotton candy.
Apparently.
I love cotton candy. Me and cotton candy are like best friends. And Amish says you need to be strong to drink Ramon. I get it. And then Sammy says, first I thought he broke it. No, I didn't. I might have broke my thumb. Look, the imprint's still there on my hand. Jeez Louise. Mr. Sean says, I used to have the first Eclipso appearance, House of Secrets 54, ? I think the artist was Lee Elias. And Amish is laughing at Sammy. Says, oh, that's a lot of cotton candy. Don does like cotton candy. See, Amish knows how much cotton candy I like. He knows. Everybody that knows me well, or anybody that's lived with me would know, which would have been Amish. Philippe says, what do you guys think about the female Silver Surfer?
Oh.
Well, I don't know if she's going to be the Silver Surfer that we know, Norrin Rad. She might be a different version of the what would we call it, the evil emissary of Galactus, in a way.
It's Harold.
Yeah, but I like
It's
evil emissary. I think that has
Oh
a
yeah,
better ring to
that
it.
sounds cool. Yeah, Evil Emissary does sound.
Yeah, I like that ring. Watermelon sugar. Yeah, it actually has about half, less than half of what you would have in a regular soda. So, go figure. It's weird. It's weird drinking out of a thing with a marble in there. They should just make it Frankie Ray, and they might actually. There could be a plot twist there. You see what I did?
I'd be fine with that.
Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay, so we've got plot twists going on, guys. So let's get started on some of these plot twists. Let's have Tracy start us out. We'll go counterclockwise on this one. Tracy, take it away with one of your little twisty plots.
Let's go. Oh, let's go with the 1973 classic Soylent Green.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this movie terrified the crap out of me when I was a kid. I shouldn't have watched it when I was a kid. I now realize, because that seems a little intense for a child. But I just rewatched it in preparation for tonight, and that, like, the plot twist at the end. I'm gonna spoil it for everybody if you haven't seen this 51-year-old movie.
Spoiler warning.
Right? Spoiler warning. It's a post-apocalyptic story that is set in 2022, which is just funny to me because that was 2 years ago. And the world has gone to crap, which it kind of did. And basically is that their food supply is very low. So people pay like prime price for like strawberries, and only the rich get like any form of fresh food. And most of the population is stuck eating Soylent, which is like these little pellets, like square pellets. And there's Soylent Red and Soylent Yellow. And then now they have a new variation called Soylent Green. And Soylent Green is not necessarily abundant. And so you can only get it on one day. And they're constantly running out of the supply. And so the whole time you're like, there's a murder mystery involved as well. So this whole time you're kind of focused on the murder mystery and what's going on there. And then at the very, very end, the old guy who knew the world before all of this happened wanted to prove that Soylent Green, that there was something hinky going on. And so he basically goes to the place where they euthanize themselves when they're old. And Charlton Heston, because he's, Charlton Heston, finds out that Soylent Green is indeed people. And so...
Oh.
Yeah.
So people are consuming people.
People. Yeah, Soylent Green is people. And quite horrifying, actually, when I think about it.
The recipe, a little bit of nice Chianti and
they did make they do have, I think it's like a protein bar or something they have now that they call Soylent Green.
Yes. And I remember when that came out.
Really stupid name.
Right, like why would you name it that? I guess if you haven't seen the movie, it wouldn't correlate, but yeah, I think it's more horrifying now knowing that the world isn't too far off from that.
Oh, really? Mr. Sean says it was also the inspiration for the band name Green Day.
Oh.
I had no idea.
Wow.
And he said the old guy was Edward G. Robinson. It was his last movie, and he passed away as it was coming out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as they were spooling the reels in the theater, he went in and died in the lobby. That's what happened. Yeah. Terrible.
It's one of my favorite movies. I think it's like just such a classic. I don't like post-apocalyptic stuff normally, but I don't know. I love this movie. I saw it, like I said, when I was younger, and for whatever reason, I've always loved it.
It's interesting that Charlton Heston was doing these type of movies in the late 60s to early 70s, because he did that one. He did kind of the Apes, and he did Omega Man.
Yeah. Yeah. He was on a little bit of a roll there with these. So, but I feel like that was a thing at the time. Like that was a very popular trope, was the world's gone to shit in 40 years, and here's where we are.
Yeah.
Just kind of weird because our food supply is great, but
it kind of makes sense historically, because you had the Vietnam War, you're in the middle of the Cold War, as well. So it kind of makes sense that you would see these type of movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think this is really well done. I mean, I don't know. And I found out that the director is the same director as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which makes sense to me. Feel a very similar vibe, but it's good. I feel like everyone should watch it, even though it is a little horrifying. But so, and even knowing the end.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sean, to your surprise, I'm going to tell you I've never seen this movie. So there's that. And he said there's a big banner in the film of people lining up for food that states Soylent Green Day.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they have other days with different foods like Soylent Blue or
like the other ones. So, well, Soylent Green, by the way, the plot twist, I forgot. The plot twist is that they're told that it's like plankton.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's out of. So that's why it's in short supply because there's not enough plankton. But anyway, so that's the plot twist. I forgot to even say that part. But yeah, the other kinds are available all the time. Soylent Red, Soylent Yellow, like they're all available all the time. But only on Tuesdays can you get Soylent Green.
And it was delicious. Plankton.
Well, according to Saul, the old guy, it's not good. It's better than one, but not as good as the other, or something like that. He kind of he alludes to that Soylent Yellow tastes like cardboard.
Oh. How come there's no Soylent Blue?
I don't know. Maybe because blue is a weird food color. So maybe that's why.
So's green though, if you think about it. It's the color of mold.
It's the color of vegetables. I feel like it's why it's green.
Well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I like Soylent Orange. That sounds nice. Soylent Pink.
Soylent Purple.
Soylent Purple would be interesting. Yeah. Soylent Black, I don't know if I would be down for that. Soylent White? Possibly, yeah. If it's like white chocolate.
Soylent Gray.
Soylent Gray just seems sad, though. If you eat that, you're just going to be sad all the time. Mr. Sean says, yes, there was a mention of Soylent Red. Ah, there we go. Nezzy's here. Hello, she says, everyone. Hello, Inez.
Hello.
Sean McGean says, think about how insects are being pushed as a protein source now. That's true. To a point. They're trying. It's just not working very well because it doesn't taste very good. I've tried it. I've tried a lot of them. I've tried, and I've tried the chapulines from Mexico and stuff like that. The roasted crickets and all that. I've tried all kinds of things. What I haven't tried is grubs, like grub worms. I've tried ants. Ants are actually pretty good. Like I could see putting them on cottage cheese because they're like peppery. Ants are very peppery in flavor. So if you throw them on there, you can have peppered. I don't know. It's interesting. They do a bug fair every year at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History. And during that bug fair, they do have an eating session to where you could try various types of bugs prepared to delight your culinary old taste buds. And some to a high degree of success, others not so much. And the ants were solid.
Interestingly enough, not to freak people out, so you're talking about eating bugs. Technically, we all do. I know there's something with the FDA. There is like a rule where there is like a small percentage of insects are allowed into the food supply because you only do so much. You only do so much.
I want to say 13 or 20%. I can't remember which it was. Something like that. Maybe it was like 13 or 12, somewhere around there. Percentage of insect pieces and parts. Interestingly enough, they did a test, and the number one offender was, believe it or not, Ghirardelli chocolate had the largest amount of insect pieces and parts in it. So there you go. That delicious Ghirardelli chocolate that you all know and love is filled to the brim with insects.
Oh boy.
Which, that really bothered me when I first found out about it, and I didn't eat chocolate for a while because I was like younger. I think it was like 11 or 12 or something. And I found that out, and I was like, no, I'm not eating this. Nope, that ain't right. But then I was like, I love chocolate. So I finally found my way back to it and then just forgot, or just blocked it out of my head.
Well, in New York City, the water there has little shrimp in it. So tiny little microscopic shrimp.
Interesting.
So it's all over. It's not just in a chocolate.
Sean McGean says upcoming cicada invasion is just around the corner. So there we go. That'll be delicious. Even early on, Heston was in an Orson Welles classic film. Mr. Sean says, as over the top as it is, I like Heston and Rex Harrison in Agony and the Ecstasy. No plot twist, though. And Sean says, Touch of Evil. So there we go. We got some Soylent Green action. Kevin, what is yours?
My first one will be the classic 1995 movie from David Fincher, Seven.
Oh. Gotcha.
I have to say, this is a good movie. A well-written script involving the 7 deadly sins. Essentially, the killer would target people who were engaging in the 7 deadly sins of sloth, gluttony, lust, envy, wrath, greed, and pride. And a very intelligent killer, too. So, of course, the movie kicks off with these 2 detectives, one played by Morgan Freeman, William Somerset, and another one, a younger detective who's coming into the department, Brad Pitt, named David Mills. And Mr. Somerset wanted to show Mills the way because he's planning on retiring. So they ended up working on this one case. And it's very, very interesting. You know, you go to different crime scenes. You're seeing how the killer basically kills people in different ways involving whatever particular sin they're involved in. And also you had a great additional cast members of Richard Roundtree, the late great Richard Roundtree, the late great Lee Ermey, Gwyneth Paltrow, and of course Kevin Spacey. Since again, spoiler warning, Kevin Spacey is the serial killer known as John Doe, who is inspired in killing people.
Did you have to say that? Is that
well, look,
integral to? Warning. Is that the plot twist?
Well, no. We'll get to the plot twist.
No, he's not John Doe. He's Kaiser Sose.
Well, that was the other movie that came out earlier in the year. Yes, indeed.
Also,
which, interestingly enough, also has a twist too. I don't know if anyone's talking about that one, but that's also a great movie with an interesting plot twist.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's going on. You know, the younger detective Brad Pitt's playing Mr. Mills. He's a little jaded, you know, doing this whole thing and kind of a little cocky and arrogant too. But unfortunately, little does he know, he's being sucked into this game that John Doe's playing. And it does end in tragedy because essentially the killer, Kevin Spacey plays, his sin is envy. And he envied the life that Brad Pitt's character, David Mills, has. So, well, he does a very famous thing that people make fun of to this day. What's in the box? What's in the box? And of course, he surrenders himself because they couldn't catch him, and he was very letting him know, look, you couldn't catch me if I didn't want you to catch me. But he surrenders because he has to play out the rest of this game. And so they go out to the middle of nowhere. A box comes, and well, unfortunately, Gwyneth Paltrow's head is in the box.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert, spoiler warning. And so
it's too late,
there's one sin left that has to be committed. So he sets up Detective Mills to commit wrath, because after all, you should be pissed. You killed my family, so I'm going to go into a rage and take my wrath out on you. And of course, you know, Somerset is trying everything possible to prevent this from happening, but emotions are emotions, and that's it. He ends up killing John Doe, and therefore he becomes Wrath. And it's just crazy, just leading up to it. Because at first you're thinking the plot twist is going to be something else, but then finding out that he did him dirty like that, it's like, wow, that is messed up. That is messed up.
It's pretty messed up, for sure.
Yeah. Such a good movie, though.
Yeah, as he says, the spoiler alert after the spoiler.
We warned you.
Yeah. Chris Duque says, hello, everybody. I'm tuning in from the International Space Station. Well, congratulations for being so spaced, Chris.
Sir.
We appreciate that.
Congratulations.
We should have called this episode Spoiler Alert.
Pretty much.
Well, I did advertise it. I did say spoiler warning. Letting people know we're about to spoil these movies if you didn't see it.
It's true.
But a great script from Mr. Andrew Kevin Walker, and certainly direction from David Fincher, well executed. The cinematography, the direction, the acting, well done. Definitely one of my personal top 10 movies from the decade of the 1990s, from good old New Line Cinema, which I miss.
Chris?
I'm also going to talk about a David Fincher movie.
Oh boy.
It's from 1999.
Uh-oh. I know what
Written
this is.
by Chuck. It was based on a book by Chuck Palahniuk, and we are going to talk about Fight Club.
Wait, we're not supposed to talk about Fight Club.
We're talking about Fight Club right now.
Yeah,
We're breaking the rules.
I don't think we should.
We're gonna. It's funny because so I'm substitute teaching right now, and last week there was a fight in my class, and I had to break up. And I went in the next day and wrote on the board, "Do not talk about Fight Club," and the kids had no idea what I was talking about. I felt very upset. But anyway, and for anybody in the world who has not seen this movie, Edward Norton plays a character named Narrator. He's just the narrator. He's an insomniac. He's an automobile. He recalls cars and stuff. And he hates his job and his life. And he attends a bunch of support groups like alcoholism and AA and cancer, instead of going to actual therapy. And then he meets this other imposter, like pretending to go to these things, named Marla. And then they basically it ends up snowballing. And he meets this soap salesman named Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt. And he criticizes his consumerist lifestyle. And then basically it ends up moving on to this thing, and they end up creating what we call the Fight Club. We don't talk about the Fight Club. He quits his job, blackmails his boss for funds, and then grows this Fight Club. And a bunch of new members join, including one of the cancer support group friends, Bob, played by our good old friend Meatloaf with the man boobs. And eventually it snowballs into what we call Project Mayhem, where they start committing acts of vandalism intended to disrupt the social order. So, basically a terrorist group. Basically, the narrator, and Tyler ends up taking over this whole group, and then the narrator confronts Tyler, who basically admits to making an explosion in the narrator's apartment and then going missing. But then eventually, Bob gets killed during a mission. And the police killed by the police, and the narrator tries to dismantle Project Mayhem because it's going on a patrol and he hates it. And then but he discovers that it's already spread to the whole nation. It's a nationwide reach. And people start calling him Tyler Durden. He's like, "What are you talking about?" Turns out, twist, spoiler alert, the narrator is Tyler Durden, and it's all multiple personalities. Eventually, that was a huge twist in back in 1999. Basically, he finds out that Tyler is going to, has a plan to erase debt by blowing up credit card companies, and he ends up, he attempts to disarm the explosives, but Tyler attacks him. But then he accepts who Tyler is, that he is Tyler, and shoots himself in the mouth to end it.
My favorite thing about this film is the Easter eggs that they landed within it. When they discussed, there was a scene, they were in the movie theater and they were discussing how some movies and stuff you could splice something in the film and it would be such a quick flash you couldn't see it, or you could barely catch it. And then you get the film on DVD and you slow motion each scene, and there's scenes in there with little clips of porno, little shots in there of a porno, and that they basically spliced into the film, and it was pure genius in its execution.
All right. I have a good way to watch porno now in Texas. I throw on Fight Club.
You can certainly do that, sir. You just throw on Fight Club and you just have to be quick. You have to be ready. You have to pregame it.
Wow.
He said pregame it.
You have to get ready
Donald.
get ready for the pop, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah. Chris says, Nezzy says, Chris, you had one rule. You're not supposed to talk about Fight Club. Chris says, Tyler Durden. Mr. Sean says, is it my computer or does the audio of Chris keep cutting out? I don't think it's your computer. I have the same thing. He kind of cuts in and out a little bit.
Is it cutting out? Let me.
Oop.
Microphone.
Oh, okay. Hey, Jason. Good to see you. He's checking on his mic.
All right. Does this sound better? Is it better now?
There we go.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think my cable is a little loose, so.
Yeah, this is life.
I gave it.
Most of us, our cables are a little loose.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. Just the way it is.
Cables and screws loose. Yes.
I'm going to talk about a classic. Here we go. Gee, it's up on the screen already. I'm going to talk about the 1960 Alfred Hitchcock directed film Psycho. Psycho is fantastic. So basically, a real estate agent, like secretary, I think it's, I can't remember the name. I want to say, what was her fate? It was Marion Crane, I think, was the character's name.
Janet Leigh's character?
Yeah, she stole $40,000 in cash from her employer.
You got it, Marion Crane. You got
right, after she figured out that, like, her boyfriend was saying that their debts or his debts were delaying the marriage. So she thought if she stole $40,000 that they could get married. So she leaves, she drives off, and she's on her way to meet him and to switch cars. And a heavy rainstorm kind of forces her to stop at a motel called the Bates Motel, just a few miles from the town of Fairville. So Norman Bates is the proprietor there, whose house, his like huge house, like overlooks in the background of this small motel in the front, and it's like this really looks kind of like Addams Family-esque, or however you want to say it. It's very gothic and unnatural and spooky. And he lives up there with his mom, and he takes care of the hotel, and he always talks about Mother and how Mother's doing and stuff. And so throughout the whole story, throughout the whole script, it's basically about these murders that occur and trying to figure out, because, of course, spoiler alert, Marion gets killed. And the police are investigating. They're trying to figure it out, and it comes to a head in the story where the killer is, again, spoiler alert, is actually Norman himself. His mother had died many years ago, and he had a psychotic break in which he would dress as his mother because he thought he was his mother, and then would enact revenge and kill these people that Norman may want lustfully or for any other reason, really, because his mother is the most important thing in his life, and she can't have him wanting or needing somebody else. So it's actually very sad, very tragic story. Also, it is the first time on screen that we see a toilet flush.
Yes.
And that was one of the most controversial scenes of film in the history of film, which is really odd to say, but it's true. That's why there's that kind of like a cutaway, multiple cutaways actually throughout the film, was a way he was able to let your mind do most of the damage instead of him showing you the damage. And that I thought was brilliant in and of itself. It's a fantastic Hitchcock film, and it is a great sleight of hand and shows his masterful directing skills and the skills of his editor as well.
Absolutely. Now, are you aware of a certain theory that's been out there for years that connects another classic horror film to Psycho?
Which one?
Halloween.
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
Reason being, there's a character that's in both movies that has the same name. So there's a theory that the character in this movie is the same character in the other movie. And that character is John Gavin's Sam Loomis. Some
Really?
believe it's the same Sam Lewis who's Michael Myers' psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Lewis.
That's a stretch, isn't it? Don't you think?
It's a stretch, but it's kind of interesting in a way. Like, what kind of formed how to deal with Michael Myers, because he had to deal with Norman Bates years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It is a stretch, but it is kind of interesting because it does share the same exact name, these two characters.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I'm not. I would like to think that there would be something, because Halloween came out in 78.
78, and obviously Psycho 1960. So it's kind of like saying, like, years later,
18 years later.
He's so devastated about what happened to Marion Crane. He's switches careers. Works. Becomes a psychiatrist. Works at a mental institution so he would know how to handle people who are psychotic, so to speak.
I mean, I bet you if we sat down and we looked through a library of film, we could find easy ways to connect stories.
Of course,
It's
just this kind of a silly fan theory that I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting. It's silly too, but it is kind of interesting. Tracy, do you have a second film?
I do. 2019's Parasite, Oscar-winning movie by Bong Joon-ho, who is one of the best directors
I'm
out
sorry,
there.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. All right, so here's what I do. I haven't seen this movie, and I don't want to be spoiled with it, so I'm going to take my headphones off. And when we're done with the movie, just wave and let me know I can come back on.
That's
Okay.
fair. That's fair.
That's fair. So yeah, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen this movie. But it is basically about two families, one that is lower class and one that is very upper class in Korea. And the one family kind of slowly infiltrates the other family, and you kind of think it's going in like this one weird direction of like this lower class family is just going to eclipse this upper class family. And then at the very, very end, you realize that there's a whole other class at play in this story. And they discover that there is a man living basically in the, like, underneath the stairs in the basement, so to speak, area that has been there this entire time. And I don't know, I feel like this movie is so interesting because you really think that this one family, right, they're just going to take over this upper class family, and then that's not what happens at all. Everyone kind of, I feel, loses in this movie, except for the upper class family, which is kind of weird because they do lose because people die and there's a whole thing. But it's so masterfully done in giving a commentary on classism in South Korea, and which is the main point of it. But I feel like the plot twist at the end, where you discover that this guy has just been living under the stairs and has been kind of doing all these weird things, and the light, like there's a light in the hallway that always seems to be kind of like going on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And they discover that it's the guy who is like signaling,
Trying to communicate.
trying to communicate. And so I can't see a blinking light now without thinking of that. Freaks me out, but I feel like it's so masterfully done, which he does. I mean, I feel like Bong Joon-ho is just so he's a master at the mind fuck of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I feel like it's one of the best kind of plot twists that I've seen in a while. It's one of the best movies I think I've ever seen ever. So
I think somebody downstairs is trying to
right, to
contact
communicate.
me. Yeah, I think so.
If anyone has seen this movie,
Huh.
I'm sorry for spoiling it if you haven't seen it, but can you see a flashing light without thinking of this movie? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it just is so ingrained in me, this movie. Every single movie he's ever done has just disturbed me to the point of never wanting to watch it again. So, like, I've never seen this a second time because it freaked me out the first time. Same thing with Snowpiercer. Like, his movies just have that way of doing it, but he's just so good. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Snowpiercer, actually, that's one of those rare instances where I feel the television show is better than the movie.
The movie is fine, and things you can't get out of your head.
Yeah, the movie's good. I mean, it's solid, but just to me, the television show kind of takes it to another level and shows you more of the classism and more of the strife and the struggle of the underclass and how they possibly could rise to power. And it's got the guy that played in Hamilton. He was not the lead, but he was very, very good. I can't remember who he played. I want to say it was Jefferson, maybe.
Maybe.
I can't remember. But he also sang the Hanukkah for Puppy for Hanukkah song.
Yeah, no, I feel like the show, I mean, I didn't watch the show, but I feel like when there's a show like that, it has more time to get into everything, as opposed to a movie where it has to be wrapped up in a certain amount of time. I feel
Agreed.
like the show has more time to things
Well, yeah,
out, so.
yeah, they do get more time to unveil it and let it simmer and keep continue. Plus, it's got Sean Bean in it in the second season, which just makes it perfect.
Yeah.
Chris has popped in. He says, "Hey Donald, how are you and everyone? I think we're all alive, and we're just
Chris, the thumbs up.
we're just."
I actually muted myself for a little bit too during because I actually want to see the movie myself. So should we let Chris back in on this too? Should we give him the wave? Oh.
He'll figure it out here in a second. There you go.
All right.
He's got it.
There.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
What did I miss?
That'd be terrible if we just told him.
I know.
All right. So that was Parasite.
Spoiler alert, it's not in English.
Kevin, what's your next one?
It's very
My next one is a movie that I personally believe was influenced by Seven, as well as another personal favorite movie of mine from the 90s called Cube, which maybe I'll talk about in a future episode if we do a part 2 to this. The movie from 2004, Saw.
Never seen it, but it's okay. You can spoil it. I'll never watch it.
It's
Okay.
Actually, Tracy, it's not nearly as gory as you would think. It's
No, it's really,
The
first
sequels,
one's not.
the
sequels are awful.
Unfortunately, they're out of
They're like
control. Although
insanely gory.
the prequel that came out last year, I must say, I was impressed. It was actually probably the best movie since the first one. Like, I was actually the way they did it, the way it's executed. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Donald, but trust me, if you have a chance, watch it. I think you would agree with me. It's well done. It's actually a little originality to it, the way they go about it.
Is it the one with what's his name in it? The guy that got slapped?
No. You're thinking of Spiral.
Oh, okay. So,
Spiral was just a spinoff, but it just came out last year in the fall.
oh, all right. Okay.
It's a prequel, isn't it?
Yeah,
Confused.
It basically it takes place between the first and second movie. But it's basically it's called Saw X. It's called Saw X, but it takes place between the first 2 movies, Saw 1 and Saw 2.
I'm shocked that they're still making them.
I am too, to be honest with you. But at first, I had no interest until people kept telling me it was good, and I saw it for myself. I'm sure if John Callahan was here right now, he would agree with me. But I was impressed. But this original movie it has a very interesting concept. Basically, the killer captures his victims, puts them in a trap, and basically they've done some kind of wrong. They've committed some kind of sin or crime themselves, but they have to play the game. So there's a chance for them to survive the trap. But if you don't survive the trap, you basically end up killing yourself. So technically, the killer isn't really a killer. He's just, you end up killing yourself. Basically, he puts you in a very stressful situation where most people just panic. But if you pay attention, you listen to the instructions, you actually have a chance to survive the game. Of course, you may, maybe lose a limb at best or lose a little bit of blood. But if you follow instructions and don't panic, you actually can survive the game. But of course, most people don't. They freak out. They get themselves killed. So throughout the movie, there's like a red herring. You're thinking the killer, spoiler alert, is this guy named Zepp Hindle, played by Michael Emerson, who you might know from the series Lost. And interesting enough, there's another guy in this movie who was on Lost. It was Ken Lun, who played Detective Stephen Singh. And he works with the Danny Glover character, Detective Tapp. And the movie starts and mainly goes around these 2 characters in a bathroom, this dirty, dingy bathroom. They wake up, they're chained. Carrie Ellis, who plays Dr. Gordon, and then Lee Wan, who plays a guy named Adam. So they're trying to figure out why are we here, and then they learn certain things, certain clues. They're putting the puzzle together, and eventually you find out that Zepp is not really Jigsaw. They're thinking he's Jigsaw. Unfortunately, Zepp himself is actually a victim of the Jigsaw killer himself. So he's doing things because he's forced to do it, or else he's done. He's gonna die. And so one of the cool plot twists of the last 20-something years, this dead body that's in the middle of the floor who looks like he blew his brains out. They're thinking, oh, this dead body's here the whole time. It turns out that dude's not dead at all. That guy who's dead on the floor is actually Jigsaw. And of course, the famous plot twist music comes on. The guy freaks out, and then you learn that he is the killer. And of course, he says the famous line, "Game over," when he leaves him there locked up to die. So it's a very interesting movie. A lot of flash cuts, of course. It's a very fancy, that 2000-ish flash cutty scenes, things I know Donald doesn't like, because I know Paul Greengrass must have copied this type of editing technique of the flashy editing and quick cuts and whatnot. But I think in this case, it's done the right way.
It's more with Greengrass. It's more the handheld.
Handheld.
Running and moving and stuff. I don't like it.
But this is pretty cool. Like, it's gritty. It really messes with your head too, besides some of the gore. But it's kind of a combination of just enough gore, but also just a gritty psychological effect of what would you do if you wake up in a situation where, oh my God, how did I get here? Why am I locked up in a dirty bathroom? I'm chained up. There's a recorder telling you what you need to do and figure things out.
Like a Thursday night at Kevin's place.
Yes, I suppose so.
Sean McGean says, I haven't seen Parasite, but the plot sounds similar to The Servant, 1960s British film about classism with Dirk Bogarde and James Fox. Bogarde plays a servant who masters his master. Mr. Sean says, lots of dramas or thrillers have plot twists, but what about comedies? Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Tootsie, when Dustin Hoffman reveals himself, although the viewers were in on it. It doesn't really work. The plot twist type thing that we're going for is we don't know. We're not in on the joke. We're not in on the twist at all. So that makes it a little different. I'm sure there are some comedies like that, and if I'm thinking it, I can't remember offhand, but there are a few that do have some good twists to them. Alex Banquita's here. Hello, Alex. Good to see you. And with that, let's move on. Chris, next film for you, sir. You're on mute, possibly.
I'm not muted. I'm just talking without a voice.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Next time I'm gonna go back into the 21st century.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about a movie by a director named Jordan Peele. Written by Jordan Peele.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Jason Blum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We got a good old movie called Get Out to talk about.
Is that with the NBC reporter's daughter in it?
Whose daughter?
Yeah.
The former NBC reporter, was it Brian Williams or something like that? That's his daughter.
Yeah, Alice Williams. She was in Girls too.
Yes, Girls. That's right, the nepotism show.
Yeah, so those of you who don't know, Get Out. Just get out now. Don't spoil it to you. Just get out right now. Anyway, spoiler coming up. Basically, guys dating a black guy, photographers dating this white girl. Invites him to.
So this white woman invited her black boyfriend. Correct.
Yes, to her house, to her family's house.
All right.
In upstate New York, which was actually shot in Mobile, Alabama, for those of you who are curious. And basically, so she takes him to meet her parents, played by Bradley Whitford and Catherine Keener.
Good choice.
And basically, all this stuff happens, and the mom convinces Chris, the main character, into a hypnotherapy session to cure his smoking addiction. And while he's in a trance, he confesses that his mother was killed in a hit and run when he was a child, and he feels responsible. And then basically at the mom's prompting, he falls into a dark void she calls the sunken place, where no one can hear him. Next morning, he's surprised that the hypnosis worked. He no longer wants to feel the desire to smoke. And anyway, so then basically there's all this weird stuff that happens, and then they're at a party, and all the guests hold a silent auction, but it's disguised as a game of bingo, where a character basically wins Chris as the prize. Chris then sends a photo to his friend, who's a TSA officer, and who recognized it. There's this guy named who's working there who's like this missing friend of his. He takes a picture and sends him to his friend who's a TSA officer, and he recognizes him as this guy named Andre, who's been missing. And then basically suspecting a conspiracy, he tries to call the police, but they just laugh at him. He finds pictures of his girlfriend Rose in prior relationships with numerous black partners, including other people that are working at that house as servants. She always had this claim that he was the first black. And then that really contradicts it. And then he tries to leave, but then Rose, his girlfriend, steals the keys. And then basically the mom uses a hypnotic trigger to send him back in the sunken place. Then basically you find out the twist here is that they are hypnotized, that they are they're luring black people into the lair of their cult, or a secretive cult, and they undergo a procedure to transfer the white people's minds into the young black bodies. And he has to try to escape. So that's the big twist ending of the movie. Evil cult, like usually you'll go evil cults are the culprits here. You can't spell culprit without cults. So.
Definitely an original movie for sure. Very interesting.
Yes. Put Jordan Peele on the map as a director.
Yeah, sure did. Sure did. And think
Sadly,
about it.
None of his other movies have really lived up to the hype, but
Not even Us?
I mean, it was as good, but I don't think it was nearly as good as... I really enjoyed Us, but I don't think it was nearly as good as Get Out.
I liked the last one a lot.
Last one was good. The Alien one?
Yeah, but it's just you had to be in the mindset that he's not going to be another Shyamalan. He's not going to... Not everything is going to have a twist to it, that big of a twist. Like this story that he told, and what was the name of the film?
Nope.
Yeah, it was a film.
Nope.
Oh, stop.
Yes, it was.
No.
It was a
Yes,
film.
it was a film.
It was a movie. Anyway,
Not a Planet Earth.
I don't know the name of it. I'll come up with it at some point.
Not a Planet Earth.
I'll come up with a name at some point. But anyway, there's
Not
this...
of Planet Earth.
What?
Not of Planet Earth.
Are you
AKA...
Is that the name of the movie?
That's the name of the movie, yes.
Oh, okay. So, Nope. All right, not okay. Got it. Okay, so Nope. Anyway, if you saw it as a kind of a B movie science fiction thriller, then you were really going to enjoy it. But you had to go in thinking that or knowing that. If you didn't think that or enjoy those types of films, then you were not going to enjoy that movie, and that's unfortunate. But that's just the way it is.
Sound mixing was amazing in that movie.
Sean McGean says, I would say two LA-centric films with plot twists would be Chinatown and Inherent Vice.
Oh, definitely Chinatown, yeah.
Yeah, Chinatown's a great choice.
And what's crazy, $4.5 million budget on this movie, Get Out, and it made $255 million. Unbelievable.
Jesus.
And a lot of that was me, because I saw the movie like 6 times in the theater.
Well, you spent your money well, sir.
Best one was watching it in Harlem.
Oh, that must have been
fun. That was an experience. That was fun.
You got to watch it with many brothers and sisters.
Yes.
All right, so moving on from Get Out. And my next one is going to be none other than this film that people probably don't know. It's French.
Ooh la la.
So there you go.
Oh, the
It also,
baguette. Le
it also
croissant.
it has a similar plot twist to another movie we just talked about earlier, too, if you
Mhm.
think about it.
Yep, very, 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 very much so.
No, no.
High Tension. High Tension is a French film. It was originally called High Tension Haillon, like that. I think is was the name.
What's your problem, man? You don't pronounce it that way.
It was hot tension, Haute for hot tension. I sound like I'm Gambit from the X-Men. It's a slasher. It was a slasher film that came out. I want to say in 2003. Okay. It did pretty well. I mean, as far as like the budget, it was only like $2.5 million budget, and it ended up making like 6.8. So I guess they made their money plus, which is great. So good for them. So it's basically the story of Marie and Alex. They're two best friends that are going. I think it's like a summer trip, and they're driving to visit Alex's parents. So Marie and Alex get to Alex's parents. They get there. They're having a great time, and then it's late at night, and there's a knock on the door, and it's a serial killer. It's just some random killer that busts in and basically slashes the dad's throat and then decapitates him, and then goes after the mother and kills the mother, and then goes after the two girls. And it's this whole film about this serial killer or this just random psychopath hunting these two girls. And like, it's super high tension for those of you that love that kind of thing. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. The funny thing is that, spoiler alert, guys, Marie
Here we go.
is actually in love with Alex and also psychotic and has a break, and then thinks that she is the psycho killer, and so therefore she is the one that killed her parents, and she is the one that is hunting Alex in a lot of very effed up ways. So the idea of it is when it first hits you when you watch this film, and it first hits you and you're like, Jesus, that's really cool. But then you think on it and you simmer for a while, and then you don't understand it. And it's best not to do that. So just go in with the hopes of enjoying it for what it is, because it is a fun film. And the reveal is enjoying. It's enjoyable. There we go. The reveal is enjoyable. And it definitely is a shocker of a plot twist for a French film. Another one, I believe, came out not too long, and around the same time. I think it was called Time Crimes, I believe was the name of it. And that was another French kind of a sci-fi thriller. So if you get a chance to watch that one, I highly recommend that one too. But this one was a doozy. High Tension. Recommended if you get a chance. And let's see. Mr. Sean says, not likely to be mentioned, but Citizen Kane has a great twist at the end. Alex Bankita says, knock, knock. That's what it was called. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Who's there?
Who's there?
Are we supposed to do that? Oh, okay, Alex, I missed the other part. For a second, I thought it was the bad Keanu Reeves movie where he gets captured by two girls. No, that is called Knock Knock. Yeah, thank you. I just did not catch the other part. Jesus, sorry, Alex. Sean McGee says, good point, Mr. Sean. They're both talking to each other. Hopefully, unless my theory is Mr. Sean has two accounts. And he uses his phone on one, and then he has his laptop, or he has his desktop and his laptop, and he pretends to be Sean McGean. Sean McGean does not exist. I've seen Mr. Sean, so I know he's real, but I don't believe Sean McGean is real. I don't think he exists. I think that we're dealing with a kind of a high-tension-esque, perhaps Norman Bates psycho-type scenario here, where he's had some type of split, and he now thinks he's also Sean McGean, and has created that character. I could be wrong, but I'm rarely.
Is he going to shoot himself in the mouth to kill the other character off?
Probably.
Just live as him?
Sean McGean says, you are incorrect, Donald. I'm realer than you. And it has the 3 dots at the end, which is what Mr. Sean does all the time. Interesting. Okay. So that's my second. Tracy, you got a third?
I do. Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright's first foray into actual horror, not funny horror. And it is, so if you haven't seen this is very recent. So if you haven't seen this, I guess, spoiler alert.
2020, I want to say, something around there.
2021. It was the
21.
first movie one of the first movies I saw in the movie theater after the pandemic, in a sold out theater at the New Beverly, so taking my life in my hands there. Right? We were also wearing masks, but still, it was like, that felt very risky. But anyway, not the point. So it's basically about this young girl who has dreams of being a fashion designer, and decides that she is going to she applies to a fashion school, and she gets in, and she moves to London, and she ends up in this like dorm that she basically hates. And so she is forced to rent another apartment off campus, and she finds this room in this house, and it's rented by this older lady, and she somehow gets transported back into the world of the 1960s.
This older woman has some really weird rules. Not weird, but like, you can't have any men here after 8 p.m. or something, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, and she's very like conservative and
Protective,
like
kind of almost.
protective, want being all crazy. But so she kind of has this weird where she's in between these two worlds, and she meets this character named Sandy, who is, for lack of a better term, a prostitute.
The way that she portals through time, so to speak, I believe has a lot to do with her mother's music. Like, she loves 60s music, and it's the music that her mom loved. So when she would play that, she was transported back to that time when her mother was younger. And
it's like when she's sleeping too, like she goes to sleep.
It's like the sheets get long and she starts walking then, and then there's a hallway that expands, and then it's an alley, and then she's there.
Yeah. So she meets Sandy, and she realizes that she gets murdered. And so this whole time she's trying to find out who murdered Sandy, and she's going through the whole thing. And the plot twist at the end is that Sandy is not murdered at all, and Sandy's actually the older woman that she rents the room from. But
no, it's okay. And the twist gets further in, because I'm gonna be honest, when I watched it, that's the part that I was telling you, Tracy, that was very very obvious to me, was that older woman was her.
Yeah, I guess that in the trailer.
Yeah,
I never caught that at all.
I thought that's got to be her. What I didn't get was that she didn't die. She was the one that lived. And she actually, to get her song career started, she had to sleep with dozens of men of wealth and power, so to speak. And she would take them up to her room, and that is where, after a while, she began to start killing them one by one. So that I did not catch or see that coming. So that was an interesting plot twist. And then that the older woman became more menacing because of that. So that did surprise me.
When she's like, and then she tries to kill her. She tries to kill the girl.
Yeah. Poison her, so to speak.
Yeah. And the older woman played by Diana Rigg. It was her last performance. So before she passed away.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yep. It's not Edgar Wright's best, but it's a good debut into horror instead of, comedy horror that he's been so used to.
That's true. He's very good at comedy horror, but horror, I think he should honestly either work a little more on the script when it comes to the horror or just stick to the comedy horror, because he does comedy horror so damn well. I always appreciate that. Kevin, do you have another one?
Yes, sir. One of two of Mr. M. Night Shyamalan's best movies, but maybe only really two good movies he's ever made. The 2000 classic Unbreakable. Mr. Samuel Jackson and Mr. Bruce Willis.
Yeah, what a great film.
And definitely an interesting concept that once you figure it out, it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Especially this was, just around the time we were getting into a modern, era of comic book movies. But basically, you have these two characters. You have Bruce Willis plays David Dunn, Samuel Jackson who plays Elijah Price, and they're basically opposites of each other in the sense that, David's never gotten hurt or had any injuries, never been sick. He went through things in his life that were just seems like coincidental, where he was involved in a train derailment. He's the only survivor. He's involved, in a car accident. He's in water, which did seem to be something that kind of bothered him, but didn't kill him. So you kind of learn, oh, water is kind of an issue for him. And then you have Samuel Jackson. He has a rare disease, like a brittle bone disease, where he could easily, snap and get an injury. And he's constantly needing canes and wheelchairs and whatnot to get around. He's just, poor guy, just can't keep it together physically. But at the same time, though, he's very, very, very smart, very brilliant man. And so you go throughout the movie, all these different things are happening. And then you do discover that David does seem to have a superpower. He can touch you, and then he can know things about you, especially people who have done wrong and committed crimes and whatnot. And then Elijah Price is trying to tell him, hey, I think you're special. I think you're special. No, I'm not. I'm just a guy, just a security guy. No, man, I think you really are special talent and whatnot. So eventually, as we get towards the end of the movie, David meets Elijah's mother, and she kind of tells him the difference between villains and the heroes that fight them, and physical strength and intelligence and whatnot. And then Elijah tells David, hey, why don't you shake my hand? He shakes his hand, and then he figures out, oh my God, all these crazy things that have been happening, all these crazy accidents, Elijah caused. And then Elijah tells him, yeah, you know what? I've been looking for you my whole life. I know there has to be like an opposite of me because of what I do. So yeah, I'm a bad guy. I'm a supervillain. And I knew my opposite, a superhero, was out there. And by the way, you can call me by my childhood nickname, Mr. Glass.
The creation of the supervillain and the superhero in the same film.
Origin story. Yeah, it's like an origin story. It's kind of cool. Just the way they go about it. It seems so realistic, the way it's done, the way it's executed, the way it's shot. It's pretty freaking clever.
This is his best film.
Yeah, it's probably his best film. And what's interesting, I didn't know later on, of course, he ended up doing a trilogy unknowingly with Split and Glass.
Well, I think Glass we knew it was by then. It was.
Well, yeah, by then, yeah, by Glass, by the end you knew, yeah.
Yeah, because the end of Split.
End of Split. The end of Split revealed that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting concept for a origin of a superhero, supervillain movie, the way it was done. So I give Mr. Shyamalan credit for this one. But after that, after about Act 3 of Signs, it goes downhill for this man. Goes downhill from there.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, Chris, do you have another one?
Yeah, I got one more. I think.
You do.
Good to go. I got one. Yeah, I got one. We're gonna go a little. We're gonna go a little older here. We're gonna go 1992.
Okay.
A movie with Brandon Richardson, Stephen Ray, and a good old Forrest Whitaker. We're talking about The Crying Game.
Ooh.
Shot the beginning of the movie was shot in Laytown, County Meath, Ireland. The rest of it was shot in London.
Okay, quick. Let me know when you're done. I don't know the whole thing, so I'm just gonna take this off.
Okay. All right, so Donald. So Donald, every time we hang out, right? Every single time Donald and I hang out, he always has to hug me and touch my ass, and then he has to.
Whoa.
He has to take his fingers and really rub my ass really good.
Wow.
He can't
survive.
If
You
he
tell me that
doesn't
Donald.
do that. And then he makes me grab his ass and I cry every time we do it, and then I always call the cops for harassment, and then he says he won't hang out with me if I don't do it. But so I'm a big sucker, so I keep doing it anyway, even though he's like harassing me, and I hate him, and I please someone please save me, help me. Not even the movie.
So he's touching you in certain places. My goodness.
Yes, and he has a small penis. All right, so the movie, Crying Game. It's from 1992. It takes place in. It's basically it starts at a Northern Ireland North Ireland fairground, and there's an IRA member named Fergus, who was played by Stephen Ray, and there's a bunch of other IRA members, and then basically they kidnap a British soldier named Jody, played by Forrest Whitaker. And basically they do that by, there's a female member of their unit called Jude, played by Miranda Richardson. Basically she lures Jody to a secluded area by promising sex. And basically the unit intends to hold Jody until an imprisoned IRA member is released. And if the demands are not met within 3 days, he will be executed. But anyway, so as like people like as Jody is being held captive, he grows a bond with Jude, and basically all this stuff happens, and then eventually basically Jody asks Fergus, who is one of the Stephen Ray character, asks him to find his girlfriend Dill, played by Jay Davidson, and basically they find out all this stuff plays out, and then you find out when they're about to be, Fergus encounters Dill, and they're about to hook up, and basically you find out that Dill is transgender, which back then was a big deal. I guess technically now it's still a big deal, but it was probably one of the first kind of big shocking moments like that. I think Boys Don't Cry kind of copied this a little bit.
Also, a horror movie in the 80s kind of did a little bit of that too. Have you ever seen Sleepaway Camp?
Yes, yeah, I saw Sleepaway Camp, yeah. Yeah, so similar. So yeah, that's the big spoiler. After that, they end up using Dill, disguising her as a boy, to protect her, and stuff happens. I don't want to spoil the end of the movie for you guys if you haven't seen it, because it was a really good movie. Yes, I've spoiled the plot twist, but it's not really the plot twist. There's still a lot that happens after it, so go watch it if you have not seen it. Shot for $2 million, made $71 million, so it was a big hit. Irish film, of course. Forrest Whitaker is a great actor. I'd say check it out. Very interesting storyline. Yeah, so that's The Crying Game.
All right.
So I said to her, you know what? I'll take it. So she oh, hey, Donald.
Hey. What do you?
He was talking very greasy about
talking about grabbing somebody's ass, I think, or something.
Yeah,
oh yeah, it was talked about how much you grab my ass every time you see me.
Well, I can't tell a lie, so it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, Crying Game, all done. I didn't spoil the ending of the movie, so
okay.
I get to go watch that at least. So.
When is someone going to mention The Usual Suspects? Won the Academy Award for Best Script. It's the ultimate plot twist.
I mean, I sort of did earlier when I mentioned Kaiser Sose.
Yes,
True.
I have the Laserdisc for The Usual Suspects in my living room. I'm going to mention two Nicholas Roeg masterpieces: Performance with Mick Jagger and James Fox, and The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. Yep, I have not seen either one of those movies. Nobody's going to be mentioning The Usual Suspects, though, like the full story of it. It's very well known, and I think Kevin was debating between that one and Seven, and went with Seven. And I was debating between that one and any other movie. So I decided to pick two other films, and neither one of them really are that strong in plot twists. But I just liked them and wanted to talk about at least one of them. So that's what I'm going to do. So my last film that I'm going to be discussing before we wrap up, and I'm going to make it quick, by the way, I believe it's Robert Carlyle, I want to say, is in this, as well as our boy from Memento, which is another great one that we did not mention that we should have.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but Guy Pearce. It was Jeremy Davies, Jeffrey Jones, Robert Carlyle, and Guy Pearce. So it's a little tedious, so let me get to it. Let's see. It's set in the 1840s. California. Was directed by Antonio Bird. It was filmed in Europe. Ravenous had a troubled history as far as the production. The plot of it is Second Lieutenant John Boyd, who is fighting the United States Army, finds his courage failing him in a battle and plays dead as his unit is massacred. His body, along with the others dead, is put in a cart and hauled behind Mexican lines. Stroke of luck gives Boyd the opportunity to capture the Mexican command post. His heroism earns him a captain's promotion, but when General Slauson learns of the cowardice through which victory was achieved, he posts Boyd into exile at Fort Spencer, a remote military outpost high in the Sierra Nevada, commanded by the weary but genial Colonel Hart, who I believe is the one that is played by Jeffrey Jones. And staffed by a motley crew of misfits, and they are misfits, drug-addicted privates and just really nasty people, rapists and things like that. Shortly after Boyd joins the garrison, a frostbitten stranger named Calhoun arrives and shares a hellish tale about his wagon train became lost in the mountains because a Colonel Ives had promised the party a shorter route to the Pacific Ocean. Instead, they led him into an impassable route where they were trapped by snow for 3 months, where they then had to resort to cannibalism. A rescue party is assembled to retrieve any survivors and capture Ives, so they decide to get this party together. And George warns who are leaving about the Wendigo myth. Anyone who consumes the flesh of their enemies takes their strength. Well, the plot twist is that a stranger named Calhoun is the Wendigo. He is the cannibal. He had eaten the flesh of the others and realized it had given him an insatiable appetite for human flesh, but also super strength and agile abilities and things like that. So he learned this and decided that he was going to continue to eat the flesh of humans so he could become stronger and even more superpowered. And in which case, the cowardice of our lovely Colonel is then, who is Boyd, is then given a chance at redemption in the form of also then trying to lead his party away from Calhoun, but then ultimately having to, spoiler alert, consume human flesh himself to then become a Wendigo and to fight Calhoun to the death. And the big plot twist comes where he finds that the gentleman that is holding down the fort at Fort Spencer, Colonel Hart, is also a cannibal, or has tasted the flesh of others, and is therefore has superhuman strength as well. So it's a lot of silliness, but it's actually very good if you get a chance to watch it. Highly recommend it. It is action-packed, and it is fun on a bun, I feel. So I recommend that you guys get a chance to watch Ravenous on any platform. I don't know where it's available, to be honest. It's probably Hulu, because that's where they get all the weird shit. Nezzy says, yes, The Usual Suspects had a great plot twist. Sean McGean says, I'm going to mention too. Oh, that's it. So I already said all that stuff. So with that, I think that's going to do us in, right? We've mentioned all the ones, really, that we wanted to talk about, right?
We did.
Hey, look at us. We are great. I wanted to mention something really quickly. If you are watching, Kevin, you're my best friend. I love you, and I am sorry. And with that, if we don't see you out about anytime soon, perhaps you can open up a beautiful, delicious can
of sweet with a twist Rumble Pop.
Good night, everybody. Take care.